Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a story that is literally out of this world. We're talking about a classic tale by Ray Bradbury called The Green Morning. It's this absolutely incredible story about one man's seemingly impossible mission to breathe life into a dead, dusty planet. We're talking science, pure grit, and a whole lot of dirt. So get comfortable and let's head to Mars. Imagine this for a second. You've just traveled millions of miles through deep, dark space. The rocket doors hiss open, you step out onto a brand new planet, and you take a massive, deep breath to celebrate. But suddenly, your vision goes blurry. Your lungs are completely burning. You literally can't breathe. Terrifying, right? So what on Earth, or I guess what on Mars, do you do? Well, here on Earth, our atmosphere is thick, it's rich, it's basically an all-you-can-breathe buffet of oxygen. But Mars, the atmosphere there is unbelievably thin and freezing cold. When our main character, a 31-year-old guy named Benjamin Driscoll, arrives on Mars with a group of pioneers, he steps out, takes one breath of that thin Martian air, and just, boom, passes out cold. His body just completely shuts down on him. When he finally comes to, someone is shoving a vial of harsh-smelling ammonia under his nose. He's dizzy, totally confused, and the doctor delivers some absolutely crushing news. He says, "The air's pretty thin. Some can't take it. I think you'll have to go back to Earth." I mean, imagine the heartbreak. You've traveled across the entire solar system to build a new life, only to be told your own lungs are just too weak for you to stay. But Benjamin Driscoll? He is not a quitter. He sits right up, eyes dark with determination. Even while his chest is heaving and he's gasping just to get a tiny sip of air, he absolutely refuses to accept defeat. He shouts, "No, I'll be all right. I've got to stay here." He knows if he doesn't figure out a way to fix this air problem, they're going to put him right back on the next rocket home. So he needs a solution, and fast. And the answer actually comes straight from his burning lungs. Trees. He needs to plant trees. He rushes over to the coordinator of the settlement. Now, space on these rockets is super precious, but the coordinator agrees to give him whatever seeds and sprouts they can spare. So Driscoll's master plan is locked in. Grab the seeds, hop on a motorcycle, ride out completely alone into the dry Martian valleys, and plant enough trees to flood the planet with a river of oxygen. He's basically gearing up to be a Martian Johnny Appleseed. Because think about it, trees are the ultimate super tool for taming a planet. You probably remember from 7th grade science that plants take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen, right? That's photosynthesis, and it is Driscoll's #1 goal. But trees do so much more than that. They provide thick shade to cool down those boiling summer towns. They act as massive shields against the harsh winter winds. Plus, they drop fresh fruit, add splashes of color to all that brown dirt, and at night, the sound of rustling leaves will soothe the pioneers to sleep. It's a pretty beautiful vision. But having a vision and actually doing the grueling work are two very different things. Let's look at his journey. Day 1, he packs his motorcycle with seeds and heads out alone. Fast forward to day 15, and he is deep in the wilderness, doing back-breaking labor. Bending, scooping a neat hole in the dirt, dropping in a seed, watering it from the Martian canals, and moving on. By day 30, he's completely exhausted. His ribs ache because his lungs have literally had to stretch just to process the thin air. Yet he just keeps walking and planting. Oaks, elms, maples, aspens, literally making air for the future. 30. I really want to pause on this number. 30 long, punishing days of hard, lonely work in the alien dust. And you know the craziest part of it all? In those entire 30 days, he never once looked back, not even a quick glance over his shoulder. Why? Because he was terrified. Mars was so insanely dry, and he was deeply afraid that not a single seed had actually sprouted. He figured his whole 4-week campaign of bending and scooping might have been completely ruined by the harsh weather, and seeing dead dirt would have just broken his heart. So it's the end of that 30th day. Driscoll is lying on the ground by a crackling fire, just listening to the dark earth gather itself. He's quietly telling the flames that everything on Mars needs air. And then the air trembles. From far away, over the dry mountains, comes this sound. A distant roll of thunder. He stays perfectly still. He feels a tiny tap on his brow. Then water runs down his nose and right onto his lips. Another drop hits his eye, blurring his vision, and another splashes right onto his chin. Suddenly, the rain just rushes out of the air, and it's not like rain here on Earth. Driscoll opens his mouth and just laughs as it pours all over him. The story tells us this alien rain tastes of spells and stars in air, carrying this wild, peppery dust right inside the water. Can you even imagine that? Tasting a peppery alien storm after a whole month of dry, hot dust in your throat. The climax of the storm hits, washing completely over the dry mountains. It rains steadily and heavily for 2 solid hours, and the dry dirt just soaks it all up like a sponge. When the storm finally passes, the sky clears up, leaving the stars looking freshly washed and just brighter than ever. Driscoll, drenched to the very bone, changes into his dry clothes, lies down, and falls into this deep, happy, exhausted sleep. The sun rises slowly among the hills the next morning, warming the land and waking him up. Now remember, for a full month, he has absolutely refused to look behind him. He waits just a moment. He has worked and waited a long, hot month for this. He stands up. And finally, he turns around and faces the direction he had come from. "Impossible!" he cries out. He is in absolute, total shock. What he sees isn't just a few little green sprouts poking through the dirt. No. The combination of those rich seeds, that strange, magical Martian soil, and that heavy, peppery rain caused a reaction that totally defies logic. He doesn't see one tree, or even a dozen. As far as the eye can see, reaching right up against the sky, are 5,000 trees. And we're not talking tiny saplings here. They are massive, great trees, green and huge and full. Even as he's standing there watching, the trees are literally throwing out new branches and popping open new buds right before his eyes. It's an incredible transformation. Just yesterday, this was a dead landscape with thin, whistling air and totally barren, dusty valleys. But today, the morning is completely green. And it's not just the visual color, it's the air. All about the valley, blowing like a rushing mountain river, comes this brand new air, a massive wave of fresh, pure, cold oxygen. Down in the towns below, people are throwing their doors open, running out, sniffing, and breathing in huge gulps of this absolute miracle. Those towns are completely transformed. The people have their lungs revivified, meaning they're given new energy and strength, their tired bodies lifted into an actual dance. And Benjamin Drizzle, the very man who was told he was too weak for this planet, he stands among his 5,000 trees, takes one long, deep drink of that crisp, crystalline air, and faints. But this time, he's not fainting from a lack of air. He faints from the pure, overwhelming joy and the amazing richness of the oxygen he just created. What an incredibly inspiring ending, right? He refused to let his environment defeat him. Instead, he rolled up his sleeves and literally changed his world through hard work, science, and a whole lot of hope. It really makes you think about the power of planting just a single seed. So as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with something to ponder. If you were stepping off a spaceship onto a barren, new world tomorrow, trying to build a future for humanity, what is the very first thing you would plant? Think about it. Thanks so much for exploring the green morning with me today. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.